people coming in. So welcome everybody. Um, I'm so happy you're here. This is what I tell everyone. The fact that you chose to be here and be here live is amazing. So so for those of you who know me and have taken webinars and programs with us, this is going to be very different. I did not want it to be stuffy and formal. I wanted it to be fun and casual, and even a little celebratory. That's why we're calling it a palooza and not a like webinar. So just for those of you that might be new, I am Leslie Josel, and I'm the principal of Order Out of Chaos, and we are in it's mind-boggling, we're in our 21st year of business, which is amazing to me that we have been around for 21. 21 years. It's a long time. And I like to say that a lot has changed in those 21 years when it comes to students and ADHD and neurodiversity and all of that. And unfortunately, a lot hasn't. And what I feel hasn't changed is that need for community and conversation and connection. That has not changed. And for some reason, I feel like it's even gotten stronger, that people really are seeking it out. So even though I've been around for a long time, I'm still always honored and humbled when you all show up. So thank you for that. And I'm not going to go into everything that we do at Order Out of Chaos. What I invite you to do, if you have not, and we're going to do this tonight, we're actually going to go on the website a little bit to show you around, but please go on our website. There is so much there for the taking, and it is all there for you. So please, please, please do that. The one thing I do want to say to you tonight is the thing that is going to stay the same is you will still get a recording tomorrow. This is all being recorded for you. And not only is it going to be recorded, you're also going to get what we call show notes. So I'm going to actually be giving you a lot of like references and resources and things like that tonight. That will all be in your show notes. You do not need to drop in the chat, what did you say? Where do I find that? We're not going to do that because I really want you to just kind of be fun and participatory. What I want you to do is tomorrow when you get it, read through all of those notes. And if there was something that we tend to not miss anything, but if we do, please email us then and say, hey, I really wanted to know about X. So I want you to breathe. Everything is coming your way tomorrow. And hi, I'm from Westchester. Hi, Florian. Well, I raised my kids in Larchmont, New York for 28 years. So I am originally from Westchester too. And hello from Canada. Hi, Nicole. Okay, so let's get started. Here's what I want from you. You all need to play along tonight. I want this to be a little more interactive than normal. I want to know, so here's what I'm going to tell you. And for those who know me, know that I'm really honest. Like I tell it like it is, good or bad. And I think what resonated with us is the amount of people that signed up for this. This went like gangbusters. And we didn't think it would. We didn't know of like planning. Usually I ask in our webinars, what is it you want to know? So like if we do a webinar in January, we ask, do you want study skills? Do you want executive functioning? Do you want procrastination? Do you want, overwhelm, emotional intelligence, whatever it is? I didn't ask anybody what, I just said, you know what, we're going to do a planning palooza. And it seemed to resonate. So drop me in the chat. What is the one thing you hope to get out of this evening? I want to make sure, because I did create a few things that I want to share, but I'm curious to know from all of you, what is the one thing? Normally I ask that at the end, what's the one thing that resonated? What I want to know beforehand is what's the one thing you hope to get out of this? Like, what's your cue, friends? Like, what do you want to know? And while we are doing that, I'm going to get kind of started on what I want to talk about. So you came for a planning palooza and you're going to get it. So I'm going to show you guys all different ways that we teach our students about planning. Some of them are super straightforward and you've heard before, and some of them are super kooky. And I really mean it. They're different strategies that we use to try to really connect to our students. Now, I don't know your ages and stages. And we work with all ages and stages. We work with young ones, as you guys know, through you. So we do a lot of parent coaching. Okay, we're here for planning, and I'm going to keep it in that. So, but then our middle schoolers might connect to something very different than our college students. So here's how I'm going to teach you. So we're going to talk about the power of planning. Now, some of you may know that 12 years ago, I started an academic planner and accessory business, created various types of academic planners and a lot of accessories. And I talked about it year after year and grew it and grew it and grew it. And a year ago, I actually sold it. And I know some of you don't know that because I did announce it, but if you missed it, you missed it. But the question I get asked the most is, why did I develop an academic planner? And this was 12 years ago, 13 years ago at this point, 2011. So someone do the math. 14 years ago. Why? And I'm not here to sell you planners right now. I'm here to talk to you about the concept of planning. It's because I couldn't find anything on the market that taught my kids, my students, when I say my kids, how to see their time. It's also why planners are called planners. They're not called to-doers. And a lot of those planners, so-called planners on the market, give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. They either have like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday on one side and like Thursday, Friday, Saturday on the other, right? They were horrible because what, anybody remember those planners? Like you opened it up and Monday to Wednesday was on one. Yep. Well, I used to look at those planners and say, how can my student see their time with that planner? And the answer is they can't. So I set out to find a planner, not create one. I set out to find one that would actually be a tool to teach time. Because when you teach time, you're teaching planning. Make sense? And of course, what do we people do when we can't find something we want? We do it ourselves. We make our own. Okay. So that's how that got started. So that is one of the reasons why when I talk to students about planning, I talk about it in ways of seeing their time. So actually, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you, because I'm looking at the questions, I'm going to teach you. I wasn't going to do it in this order, but I'm going to talk about buy-in first. Does that work for you? Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. I was actually going to talk about buy-in last, but I think this is why this is supposed to be a little less, like a little more Palooza-y, because on a normal webinar, I wouldn't change my direction, but I really want to cater to you all. So here's how I do it. I want to get my notes. I do it in terms of time. Number one, I don't nag them. I can't, because remember, we all have to come to it when we're ready. I also don't move a student from A to Z. If you've ever taken my study skills webinar, I say that right from the beginning. Like, how do I get buy-in? How do I get buy-in for anything with a student? Now, granted, things land differently from me versus you. Listen, I have a neurodivergent kid. You think he's 27. Do you think he listened to everything I said? No, of course not. He listens to a lot of it, but not all of it, because it lands differently when it's not done by the parent or caregiver. However, what I realized long ago was that if I had a student at A who wasn't doing anything, I could not move them to Z. I had to just move them to B. And I had to connect to what made them tick, what made it interesting. So I have somebody who wrote in the thing, I want my student to write in a planner. So here's what I want to tell you about that. And here's a girl who created an academic planner company. Follow me. Writing in a planner is actually not a goal. And I'm not saying it to disparage you. I just want to change your mindset a little bit, everybody. Writing in a planner is not a goal. It's a strategy to get to a goal. Okay? The goal is for your students to see their time. The goal is for them to be able to see their time and their tasks next to each other so they can plan, right? The goal is for them to be able to see future awareness. A planner is a system to get there. And when I talk about it that way, believe it or not, I get buy-in. Not so much to use a academic planner, which obviously I heavily endorse, but a planning tool. So it's bringing it that way. Like, what's your goal? What is the goal? Is the goal for you to know what you have to do? Is the goal for you to be able to see your time and your tasks together? Yes, great. How are you going to get there? What are you going to use to get there? Just, does that make sense to you? So I don't go, you gotta write in a planner, because that's me telling them what system to use. It's thank you. It is a genius reframe. You're right, because it's not a goal. The goal is ultimately, what is it? Like I asked you, what do you want from this? And mine is to figure out how to get me, what am I going to do to get to that goal of what you need? So that's number one. Number two, writing in a planner is 2 steps. It's not 1 step, it's 2 steps. First, your student needs to be comfortable writing. And then number 2, they have to write in a planner. Now, I should have said this, I didn't think I had to. I live in LA, and I was here during the fires. And at the time I was speaking, and I had shut everything down. And my husband had to like fly out of Hollywood, run into the house, ask, because I had no idea what was going on around me. Since then, I do not shut down my phone anymore. So I'm sorry if you hear binging. I apologize. I silenced it, but I'm just letting you know, I don't turn off that. It's my one non-negotiable anymore, is I just don't shut it off. So I always know if something is happening. Okay. I hope that's okay. Thumbs up if it is, and let's get back. So writing in a planner, 2 steps. Has anybody here read this book? Anybody? This is my book. It's my last book. It's a book on procrastination in students. Give me a thumbs up if any of you have read it. And if you haven't, you need to. And I'm not here to sell you anything, but you need to read it, because there is a story in here, some of you might remember, about a student that wrote on paper towels for an entire year. He would carry paper towels in his backpack, and every time he had to write down his assignments for the night, he would write them on a paper towel, because he was doing nothing. But what I noticed is he was doodling all the time. When I would meet with him virtually, he would doodle on a paper towel. I'm like, what is it about the paper towel? So I'm connecting to something he really liked. He goes, I love it. I like the way, like, it's soft paper. I don't know. You don't need to tell you what it was, but you get it, right? So I'm like, what do you think about writing your assignments on that? Kind of doing some planning work on paper towels. And he looked at me like, yeah, right, I'm allowed to do that. I'm like, I don't really care right now what you use, because the only thing I'm concerned about is getting you from A to B. And A is you like to doodle on a paper towel. So B, I want you, let's see if we can get you to write on the paper towel. After a year of that, we moved him he opted for a paper planner. Why? Because he had gotten used to the writing. Make sense? See what we did there? Okay. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Here's another way I get buy-in. Okay. Here's another way I get buy-in. I ask questions that are not nudgy or naggy. And I ask them about time. So I do this question a lot. What is your plan? Now, again, I don't know how old your kids are. So if they're 8 years old, you might be a little more this. If they're older, you're going to be you're going to be a little more relaxed and lenient, because you've got to let them lead. But if I have an older student, this is how it looks. I know you have soccer practice or dance rehearsal or whatever it is till like 9:30 on Thursday night, and you have like these 2 tests on Friday. What's your plan this week to getting the work done? I'm not nudgy. I'm not saying you have to do what I want. And it's forward thinking, future awareness. What is your plan too? Okay. So that's how I do some of this. How are you going to see that? How are you going to see your time? I ask that question all the time when I am working with kids. I do not ask kids what you have to do because all that is writing a to-do list, right? Any of us can do that. Hey, what do you have to do tonight? Well, I have to finish a math sheet. I think I have some bio lab work and I have Spanish vocab. Okay, great. Whoop-de-whoop-de-do. All I did there was get a to-do list. How are you going to see your time? How are you going to know you have time to do it? When do you have time? Okay. What might else get in your way? It's a great question. How are you going to see that? That's how I get buy-in. When I get the stump. Would it be helpful for you to see your time? So I'm not going into this, you have to write in a planner, you need to see it, you need to write things down. Why? I don't get there. I get there kind of going through a back door. Well, how are you going to see that? Well, how are you going to know? Do you think it might be helpful? Anybody getting this? That's how I do it. I come through that back door with asking questions about your time and seeing it. Because our mantra has always been, if your student can't see their time, they can't learn to manage it. That's why I developed a planner. Okay, that's buy-in number 3. I got another buy-in for you. I'm giving you different ones because certain things are going to land differently for your kid. This is the quirky one we do, but I love this one because it really works. When we have a really reluctant student, we ask them to plan the fun first. Anybody do this? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Are you doing this? Just a thumbs up, or you can drop in the chat, yay or nay, Y or N if you want. This is what we say, fun first. Sometimes we say, how about we plan? Let's schedule the unscheduled. How fun is that? Why? Because it plays to your kid's dopamine brain. Really? Because all they're seeing is, oh, I've got to study. Oh, I've got to do homework. Oh, I've got to work on that paper. Shut down, closed door, get out of my face, out. 21 years, thousands and thousands and thousands of kids. Nothing you're going to tell me I haven't seen. And trust me, I've done it all. I've seen it all. All. Okay? But I get it. I get that too, right? So if I'm like only like homework, studying, so we work the opposite way. Okay, let's do the fun. What do you mean? Okay, what is relevant to you? What is important to you? Maybe it's exercise. Maybe if you're in college, it's your fraternity obligations. Got a ton of those. Maybe it's dance class. Maybe it's play rehearsal. Maybe it is soccer practice. Maybe it's just fun with friends or playing the piano. Trust me, we've seen them all. Let's schedule that. And when they see that, first, it tends to lighten the load. Making sense to you? It does. There's something psychological about it. I do this with adults too. We don't see a lot of adults, but when we do see an adult, we call it, and I kid you not, we call it bubble wrapping your time. And we use that with kids and they love it because there is something very visual about bubble wrap. Remember how fun bubble wrap used to be? The popping. It's very stimulating. It's fun. It's a little dopamine-esque. And we're not giving them bubble wrap, but we're like, all right, we literally go, it's time to bubble wrap. And they're like, all right, let's bubble the wrap. Okay, let's schedule the unscheduled. Where do you want empty time? Where do you want unscheduled time? Okay, and we work it backwards. Well, I'm doing a college kid because that's where my brain is, but okay, so if you don't want to work Saturday from like 9 to duh, what is your Friday going to look like? Now I have buy-in because I did the fun first. Or I did the fun first, or I did something that was relevant and exciting to them first. Okay, that's my buy-in. So there was a lot there for you. And now I'm kind of happy we did that first because I want to now, it doesn't mean that they're writing in an academic planner. It could be they use Google Calendar. Like for all of the years that I owned my planner company, we never forced students to use planners as their sole thing. We always get, like when you coach with us, you all know we're student coaches, right? I find that there's a disconnect sometimes of what you guys know versus what we do. So we have 5 full-time student coaches that do student coaching, middle, high school, and college. And one of the requirements we have is that they get, I mean, obviously we provide it, a planner. But that doesn't necessarily have to be their predominant use of them, because we just use it. That's how we teach time. That's how we teach planning, using a planner. And I'm going to actually show you. But did that work? Did that help you all? Because I'd like to move on. I have a million other things, but I wanted to, you know what? What do they say? Let's do the thing everybody came for, which is the buy-in. Ask the questions and get the stumping. But I really like the quirky, like doing the fun first. All right, Carrie, can you bring up the slides that I showed you, like, or that we made? I just want to make sure I go back to what I was going to talk about. All right. So I want to talk to you about how we also help kids plan and we help kids prioritize. So remember the question I said to you, we don't ask kids about planning. We don't ask them what their to-dos are. Does everybody remember that? Give me a thumbs up. Thank you, Florine. Everyone just give me, you remember that? I said, we don't ask kids that. Here's what we do ask. We ask, instead of asking what's your to-dos, we ask, hold on to your hats, what's your priority? What's your priority today? What's your priority this week? And I'm going to tell you that one word changes everything. Because remember, this is all executive, and this is not an executive functioning webinar. If you guys need executive, you know, we're doing one in April. I'll talk about that in a minute. This is not, but everything we're talking about is brain-based behavior. So when you are giving your kid that question, hey, what do you have to do? There's no heavy lifting involved. All they have to do is recite assignments, whatever they remembered. When you ask them what their priority is, now their brain has to do some working. The brain has to stretch. It now has to start thinking, well, what's due tomorrow? What's going to take me the longest? What might be the hardest? Do I have a test? Now, it's not perfect out of the gate, and your 8-year-old is not going to be able to do that. This is a little bit for my older kids. And you might even get some I don't knows, but that's okay, because the brain has to start somewhere, right? It's like studying. You don't always know something the minute it's taught to you. You've got to familiarize yourself with it. So we are always, and we might even do some leading, like questions like, well, what's your priority? Well, I remember you saying you have a test tomorrow. Would that be your priority? You might have to do that for your younger kids. But I just want you to know that what's your priority should be the question you ask, I want you not to ask, what do you have to do? I want you to ask, what is your priority? And I want you to ask, when will you have time? I want you to use those 2 questions. Those will really help your kid's brain expand and get a little more like focus on what has to happen. Okay. Sound good? Do we like that? What's our priority? Okay. Let's talk about the rule of 3. Now, here's where it gets fun, and you guys can use this too. I told you in the description, I was going to give you things for your kids as well as for you. Drop this in the chat if this is you or your kid. Decision making is really hard, and therefore getting started is really hard. Anybody else? Like decision making? Yes, yes. I kind of say that decision making is like, oh my God, it's like the executive functioning nobody talks about, right? Totally. Nobody talks about decision making. I talk about decision making all the time, because I'm like, I feel bad for it because no one talks about it. No one gives it the love. Everyone talks about task initiation and working memory and time management. I'm like, can we give a little love to decision making? Because it is really hard, really hard. I'm giving a big talk tomorrow for a company who's celebrating Neurodiversity Week, and it's on procrastination. And I'm spending a ton of my time on decision making. So when I have kids or parents or adults who have a really hard time figuring things out, I like to batch and focus them. And I do the rule of 3. Some people do the rule of 2. Again, these are not These are templates. These are not absolutes, but this is really great for my older students when we go, okay, can we bring out the rule of three? And it helps them get to, like, if it's not the next day, then the next few days. So it's like, okay, I'm going to spend 3 hours on an important project, 3 hours on more like on urgent, like I kind of tried to bridge parents and kids here. So your kid might not have a meeting or a call, you might, but they might have a task, or they might have other smaller, homework they need to get done, or maybe they're in a committee, or, they have other things they have to do for other things. It doesn't always have to be school. And this is my favorite: do 3 maintenance tasks to keep life running smoothly. So, they might have to like throw in a load of laundry. They might have to make their lunch for the next day. It doesn't matter. They might have to take out the garbage because that's the chore that they have in your house. So it's not exactly what they're doing. It's the matter of doing what we call the rules of threes. I like 3. Some people can't handle 3. Some kids like the rule of 2. My younger students do sometimes the rule of 2. Okay. And it might not just be an important project. So we can also take this and we can kind of make it nimble and say, for my younger kids, it's not 3 hours on an important project. It might be 2 hours on homework. You're going to spend 2 hours on homework to, do 2 smaller things, like you have to do, like let's say I have to practice the piano or whatever, and then 2 maintenance things to get like moving, might be clean up my room and walk the dog. Does that make sense to you all? My adults love this and my kids love it, because there's 2 things happening here. We're taking this and we're doing this. It also makes it easier for us to start, and we're not making it as open-ended. We're giving parameters around something that could be big. Does that all make sense for all of you? So I wanted to bridge my rule of 3 for both you and for your students. So I actually love it, and I use it when I am having a really, really overwhelmed day. I go to my rule of 3s. Okay, so that's it. Again, this is a template. This is not to be used like verbatim, because again, I have adults here and I have kids that are, of all ages. It's a way to group things so things don't seem impossible, where there's not a lot of decisions. So basically what we like to say is the decision is 2. So it's 2 hours of something, 2 shorter tasks, and 2 maintenance tasks. That's just a way to funnel it that way. Okay, that's that one. Let's go to, well, actually, let's stay here. Let's go to time blocking. Okay, and I should have done time blocking first. We do a lot of time blocking because, again, part of that time blocking is, remember I said scheduling the unscheduled. So I did this actually for adults. I did not do this one for kids, but I'm going to tell you something we do with time blocking for students that's a little bit different than most people do. So when your student, I'll give an example, gets a project, let's say, gets a paper or gets to study something, most of the time they want to just put it on like in their notes section, or they just want to write the test down in their planner somewhere. We don't do that. We skip that part. What we want them to do is go through the time blocking, and I'll show you how we do that. When are you going to do it? Let's break it down. Maybe it's 40-minute modules, whatever it is. But here's where it gets interesting. Follow me. This is going to be a little hard to comprehend, so I'm going to say it really slowly. If your kid is using a paper planner, we have him write it right on the planner. And if he's using a kind of digital planner like Google Calendar, they can drop right there a quick note, a link to, let's say, a resource they're going to need to get started, or put any kind of like description in where they're going to do it to get them started. Here's why this works. When we have kids that have a hard time getting started, whether it's decision fatigue or overwhelm or all of that, what we like to do with them is separate the setup from the task. Most kids just sit down and say, I'm going to work on my paper today. We don't want them to do that. That's too overwhelming. So what we want to do is get them ready to work on that paper. And it starts from the minute they get the assignment. So if they're using, let's say I'm going to give you a digital, they're using a digital calendar, there's a place in that digital calendar for them to say, okay, on Tuesday from like 2 to 3, I'm going to work on my project. But we stuff that time block with notes for them. We're setting them up. Okay, here's the link to the project. Here's the resource you're going to need. Here's the descriptor so you can get started. So what it does is when they go there, they're not starting from zero. They've already done the setup. Does that, and we do the same a little bit differently when we work through an academic planner. This is the thing that has been the game changer for us with kids and procrastination. It has been pulling it apart. And it came to us because we see it with a lot of our adults who go, I want to go like organize my closet. I want to clean out my closet. And they just dive in and they're overwhelmed. So what we ask you to do is do the setup first. Do you need garbage bags? I mean, I don't do this work, but this is kind of like that. If this is something you're thinking of, this is what I want you to think about. Do I need garbage bags? Do I need boxes? Do I need, whatever it is, so that my task is set up so that when it's time to do it, I've already removed my barrier to entry and I'm ready to go. Does that make sense to all of you? It's a little hard for me to explain it without actually doing it, but do you understand what I mean by the setup from the task? I want you, if you can, try this with your students at home. We set up everything beforehand. So here's how we do that, right? Like we put in the prompts, we put in the links, we put in the references. So when we get there, that part of the work is already done. It's a seamless entry. We remove all of those barriers to entry and we've set them up. Okay, does that make sense? All right, let's go to the next one. And this is a fun one. Drop me in the chat. Have any of you heard of the Seinfeld strategy? Anybody? I got one no. Just one of you, come on. On this, nope, good. I love it. Anybody else never heard of the Seinfeld strategy? Okay. No, but you love Seinfeld, but you love the show. I haven't, never heard it before. Great. That's why I'm so happy to do this. Okay. So you'd be surprised, but my older kids actually know who Jerry Seinfeld is. Okay. They know who he is and they like him and he's funny and they just do. I was like, I always think he's my generation, but believe it or not, he seems to be multi-generational. I'm going to tell you a story because we tell our students stories. We don't just, here's like kind of like something very meta. When we introduce a strategy or something to our students, we don't just introduce it. We set it up. We tell a story, we connect it to something they like. It makes it better for them. It makes it interesting for them. It gives them that dopamine hit of like a connection. It also works to their working memory, right? One of the things we always say about working memory is you really want to pair something that, that if something you already know and like with something you don't. It makes it easier to make that connection. So I'm going to tell you the story like I tell them the story, or my coaches tell the story. This is true. When Jerry Seinfeld was first starting out, absolutely true. And if you ever heard him talk, he talks about this. When Jerry Seinfeld was first starting out, he was a young comic, obviously very focused, and he wanted to work every single day on his jokes and on his comedy and all of these things. And it felt very hard for him. Gee, I wonder why. Okay, so what he figured out is that all he needed to do was be consistent. That he didn't have to be good, follow along, but he needed to be consistent. Because if he sat down to try to do the work of writing jokes or whatever he was writing, and he was filled with this emotion of it's got to be good, it's got to be good, and it's got to be good first out of the gate, what would happen? Anybody want to take a guess? Somebody guess. Somebody just write in the chat. Anybody? If it stinks, it's a failure. Paralysis. Kim, you're right. 100%. Overwhelmed. What's the point? Right? All of it. What happens? I have to be great. It has to be perfect out of the gate. That's overwhelming, overwhelming, overwhelming. So instead of focusing on how well if the jokes were funny or not, he focused on the process instead. That's the point. He took the emotionality out of it and he focused only on the process. And the process was to stay committed daily. That was it. And to make it, okay, and make it easy enough that he could do it, right? So it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to sit down and work for 2 hours every day. It was, I'm going to spend 20 minutes. Now, obviously, it changed as life went on, but this is how they call this the Seinfeld strategy. It was not focused on how good the job was he was doing, but on not breaking the chain. Interesting. So, but the key here is that it's got to be doable. So you're not going to like if you, let's say yours is to go exercise, you're not going to say, I'm going to exercise 2 hours, 7 days a week. You're going to say, I just need to go for a 20-minute walk 4 times a week. So you're going to establish your target habit or activity, and you're going to make it visible. And visibility is the key. And there is also how we get a little buy-in with kids. When we talk about strategies with them, we talk about like if it's like, okay, if you want to study every day or you have to read for 20 minutes a day, it's not about how well we take the focus or the onus off of how well you're reading and the fact that we're building the habit to do so. I hope that makes sense. And we establish something, but the key is you also need to establish a visible tracking system. It must be visible. So poster size, giant calendar, whatever works for you or your student, that's how we do it. And they have to be able to visibly mark something off, because when we see that, it helps. It's almost like small little victories. And what happens when we celebrate small little victories? We stay committed. All research proven. We love this strategy. Why? One, because it's a Seinfeld strategy. And again, just the fact that it's a Seinfeld strategy and it's a double alliteration makes your kids stand up and notice and think it's super cool. That's number one. It's true, right? It's different. It's fun. It's interesting. It's Jerry Seinfeld. I get buy-in when I can kind of take something and relate it to someone they might like. The other reason why is it takes the onus off of performance. And when we do that, we get more buy-in and we get more habit creation. Does that all make sense to you? Let me know. That's what I wanted to bring to you. Thank you. Okay. Here's what I want to do. I want to stop because I also want to keep an eye on the time. And I want to take a few questions before I show you the academic plan. Actually, you know what? Let me do that. Let me do that first, and then we're going to take some questions. Okay. So going back to academic planner land, I have a fun question for all of you. How many of you knew that I developed academic planners and sold academic planners all around the world for years and years and years and years and years? Okay. So thank you. I'm so happy about that. So these are what they look like. And I'm going to show you why these are great. Now, again, I don't own them anymore, but some of you might have been receiving emails from me over the last week, and you'll get about this company. So it is called the Order Out of Chaos Planner Company. And I want to show you what about this all helps your student. Okay, so our planners, I'm going to do this in like 5 minutes, not even, maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes. The planners come in 2 sizes. This is 8.5 by 11. And I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to actually show it to you. Yeah. The planners come 8.5, 11. These are great for your elementary, middle school, younger high school. Do you guys see this? One of the keys is that you only have to write your subject once. When we were doing our research, we realized that was a game changer. And because your kids fold your planners, they write it once here, and they could even write it once on this side. Because sometimes on a Thursday, Friday, they turn it over, they forget what their subjects are. But do you all see what this is? They write their subjects. Sorry, they write their subjects. And now here's where they put in the assignments, the prompts, all the things I talked about, even the time. Down here is where they record their time. And this is where they put in the scheduling, the unscheduled, the tutor, the dance class, anything they have. And what happens is natural available blocks of time appear for them. And that's where what's your plan comes in. So I'm actually going to show you what it looks like. Here. This is actually like a pretend planner. Let's do that. So you can see the student wrote her, or I always make everything a her. That's just what I do. So here it is. And you can see, so do you see the gray is all the things that the student had? Dance class, tutoring, haircut, whatever it was. So if you see all this white space, it's natural blocks of time that automatically appear where they can schedule homework, studying, projects, plans, whatever it is. So that's what makes this super duper special. And yes, it marries your time and your tasks. The smaller version is perfect for our upper high schoolers and our college kids who need to see this, all day planning. Okay, this goes from 8 in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. So this gives us all day planning. And there's accessories. Your kids can like put white stickers here if they take different semesters, right? Because classes change and all that good stuff. But the small one is basically the same, other than it has all day planning. And it's the same thing. They put their classes here, they put their time here, and instantly they get to see. And there's a lot more bells and whistles, obviously. There's note sections, and there's all, full calendars where a lot of kids use it, when they're working out like a long-term project. But I don't want to spend all our time because I wanted to show you this because, to be honest, I developed them, 12 years of them. These are my plans. I mean, I don't own it anymore, but I would never, ever, ever suggest anything to you other than these. These are, without a doubt, the best paper planners on the market. Sorry, they are. They've won millions of awards. They've won the best calendar awards every year in a row because there's nothing on the market that has been developed for students by students. And everything in this planner is done purposefully. If you notice the shading, that's so your student sees their classes and suppose everything being mush. There's blocks for them so they can check off. They can put, like, if it's an A day or a B day. There's all different things in these planners that are subtle, but made specifically for your student who might, listen, we've never advertised these as like for, they're for all students to learn time. So I'm letting you know, again, I don't own the company anymore. However, we're going to give you a link tomorrow. The company that owns it is doing a pre-sale. They will only do one they only do one before back to school. And all of that information will be in your show notes tomorrow. Okay. What I want to do now, because I'm looking at the clock, is take some questions. And then we're going to jump on to the website because I want to show you a few things on the website that are some resources for you as well. Okay. Who's got some cues? Anybody? Oh, and then no, we're not going to jump on the website. I was going to show you how we're planning. Do I have any recommendations for a teen who refuses to use a paper planner? My unicorn was some kind of app that will connect to their Power School and lock them out on all their socials. Yeah, that would be my unicorn too. Here is the one thing I decided not to come to the table with. I wasn't going to sit here and say use this or that because I don't know your student. The only thing I would come to the table with is if you are choosing a paper planner, I would use the Order Out of Chaos planner because it's amazing. A lot of our students, I don't love all the apps out there. I find that the apps are super distracting. I also like that, I do. I find the apps to be really, really, really distracting. You know what we do? I don't know if you want to hear this, but I'm sharing everything with you. Sometimes we'll have a kid do a test. We're like, okay, here's your paper planner and here's your phone. How fast does it take you to get into your calendar? And it actually is shorter for them to get to a paper planner. And then I find by the time they're on their phones, I've lost them. So I don't love them. I'm a Google. Most of our kids just use Google Calendar. That's what they use. You know, you can use my homework app, you can use Evernote. I mean, there's a million of them, but I'm a Google Calendar girl because if I understand it, then they understand it. Okay. Okay, it is great. I love it. The challenge is getting the student to use it, but this really is us being consistent in teaching and showing. Exactly. So habits take a long time, everyone. Do we all know that? Shake your heads yes, or give me a thumbs up. So what you have to know is habits take about 3 months to create and longer for our kids who are neurodivergent. Okay? Yes, yes, yes. That takes so. Does everybody get that? So, do you want me to talk to you about building habits and what needs to happen in a habit? Anybody? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If you want me to talk, I can talk about habit building for 2 minutes. Okay. When we need to build a habit, you need three things. You need a cue. That would be the planner. You need a routine. Okay. You need a routine. And then you need a reward. And the reward is key. And you cannot build a habit without a reward. And hold on to your hats. The reward is not tangible, particularly for our kids, because telling them Monday that they'll get something Saturday is not going to work. We all know that, right? Thumbs up. Everyone should know that. It's like, you remember your child lives in the now and the not now. So, hey, on Saturday, you get to, get the keys to the car. No, the reward needs to be emotionally based. So it needs to come from you or a teacher, whomever. It needs to be positive reinforcement. It needs to be specific and it needs to be immediate. I don't mean immediate like he did something and it's 2 seconds later. It could be a few hours later, but it needs to be specific. Because believe it or not, for our students, sometimes a reward is not getting yelled at, not being told I did something wrong, not staring down the wrath of a teacher or a parent. That is a reward. Remember, the stress, the dope, the brain, the cortisol, all of that goes out the window. Hey, I did something, did something positive and I got positive reinforcement. That means I'm not going to get wrath. I'm not going to hear I did something wrong. That's the opposite of it. That's positive. So if you notice that your student is doing anything that is moving the needle a little bit, make sure you lock it down with some. Now, you don't need a marching band and a parade. Every now and then we do, if they've done something really amazing, but you can't just say, wow, that was great. You need to name what was great. Okay. Make sure they hear you and make sure you're specific. That's how we build habits, is when we say it immediately, we give that emotional reward. Okay. That's all I want to do on that because I have webinars where we go into much more detail. Okay, I don't want to spend time. I want to actually show you something that we do with students. I'm not going to spend time on questions like I answered that. Someone asked how to combine the use of Google Classroom by teachers and a better planner. I can't answer that. Everyone is so different and everyone, some people borrow from A to B. And that's the one I always say, I've got to know you better and I got to know what works for you. Carrie, can we bring up that PowerPoint again? I want to show you guys something. Here we go. Okay. I'm actually going to walk you through because I really wanted this to be some show and tell. I'm going to show you, if you want, give me a thumbs up if you want, how we actually plan an exam with a student. Do you want me to show you how we do this? And here's the thing I'm going to say. You need to read this. Okay, we're going to put this in our show notes tomorrow, but you need to read this. The book on procrastination, I'm just going to let you know, talks about time, homework, study skills, planning, there's that word again, routines and rituals, organizing, and distractions. Okay. So when a student, now I didn't we do this if you have a single test, or we do this or paper. We do this if you have multiple exams, but in the interest of time, I knew this was going to go long. I was only going to give you guys the one. Okay. And if you like this, we have on our website, and we're going to get there in a minute, we actually have videos that go into this much, much deeper, like talk about multiple things and all that. But I'm just going to kind of go through this quickly. Because here's what we find with your kids. If we give them a roadmap to follow and steps, we also get buy-in. Do you remember what I said to you about the, Monica, I'm sorry, everything's going to be in your show notes tomorrow. We're going to give you a link to the book. Do not worry. But do you guys remember what I said about the decision fatigue? Part of decision fatigue is having to figure stuff out. So if I give kids a roadmap to follow, guess what? All that energy they were wasting on trying to figure something out, they don't need to. And now they can actually use that energy to get done what it is they need to get done. So here's how we do this. Okay, let's say you have a test. Great. What subject do you need to study? I know that sounds like a really funny question, but you would be surprised. Remember, 21 years, I've seen it all. Do you know what subjects it in? Yes, it's history or math, whatever. Great. When is it? You would be surprised. Not every kid knows. Drop that in the chat. Give me a thumbs up if you know I'm right. Well, when is your exam final paper? I don't know. So it's not a question to skip. When is it? It's a big one. And we get a lot of I think. So here's the joke at Order Out of Chaos. Here's our joke. We don't like the word you can say whatever you want when you're in session. We don't care. You can curse all you want. It's a safe space. We've heard it all. We don't care. But the word we hate the most is I think. Our feeling is you know it or you don't, and it's fine if you don't. But we don't rest on I thinks. We just don't. And we laugh and the kid laughs and it's all good. But it's like, do we rest on I thinks? No, you hate I thinks. Yeah, we don't like I thinks. Okay, let's go to the next one. Literally, what's the date? Okay. We're going to create a one-page calendar. So we either use the planner sometimes. So we'll either use, again, I did this as not every kid uses our planner. So either we have them use the monthly, like a week of the monthly. We want them to use this. Or we literally say, just take a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper and let's sketch it on out. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So it might look like this. Literally, math, this one math or history, or it's going to look like it on this. Make sense? We're just going to write, that's it. We're going to write the date, the time. All right, let's move on. This is easy. You guys are super smart people. Okay, what do you need to study? This is where it gets interesting. And I'm not going to go into, this is planning. So I'm not going to go into how we break things down because that's another webinar and another time. And we have videos on all that. So there's an example. Mesopotamia. Well, I need to learn about the gods and the architecture, the government, and the culture. Too vague, right? Too vague. Next slide. We have to define and assign. That's a little thing we made up. Define it and assign it. The other thing I'm going to tell you, when we use these fun, alliterations, like the Seinfeld, let's use the Seinfeld strategy, or let's define and assign, or time over task. We get more buy-in from your student. Why? Because it sounds fun. It's very meta, right? Doesn't it sound fun? Give me a sign. All right, let's do time over task today. Doesn't that sound a little more fun than, okay, today we're going to sit down and no, my brain is bored, I'm out. So define and assign, time versus task. Using those kind of things actually really helps to keep your student engaged and initiated and gives us buy-in. So everything, remember I said, everything we do for a reason. Okay, we got to get down to the details. So let's skip over. And this is what we do. We make it more specific. Okay, how many gods are there? There's 7 gods, and we have to review their importance, Mesopotamian inventions and why they were critical, and architecture and its impact on other cultures. Yes, this is true. I love Mesopotamia. I talk about it all the time. Fine. Here's the best slide. Go to the next. This is the magic sauce. This is how we teach kids how to plan. Because what they think is, okay, I'm going to study 40 minutes today and I'm just going to open my notebook. And we're like, not so fast. Do any of you do this? Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. This is the missing piece. And when I bring this to teachers, I do a lot of work in the schools, tons of work in the schools. And now what I'm seeing is teachers are teaching us. Okay, I'm going to put these 3 questions. What tools do you use? What tools do you need to use? What do I already have? And what do I need to create? And why we like this is because kids get overwhelmed. Oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. I have so much to do. So what tools do I need to use? Anybody here take our study skills webinar? Drop that in the chat. Have you ever taken it? Where I talk about different study tools under the 4 modalities? Yes. So you know where that comes from. What tools do I use? So some of you have heard me talk about my 4 core, right? But they need to see it, a say it, a do it, and a hear it. Again, that's a study webinar. But that's what we do. What tools do I need to use? We go through the 4 core. And by chance, they have a lot of what they need, which takes the overwhelm down and, wait for it, helps them get started. What do I already have? I have old tests and quizzes. Thank you. I have old tests and quizzes. Great. That's going to be your see it, right? I want to listen to YouTube videos. I love that. Great. That's your hear it. I'm going to a review session. That's a do it. They have more than they think they have. All this brings this down. What do I need to create? Well, I kind of have to do the study guide the teacher gave me. Great. That's okay. Things we all have to do. All right. This is your magic sauce. This sets your kid up. This makes it not so vague, which adds to the planning piece. It all just, you know what I mean? It all just kind of helps. It removes all these barriers to entry. Okay, let's move on. Always, we're like, if you have a test, we like to start 3 days before. So again, it's not just when they get that homework assignment, continue studying. We're making it very specific. What are you doing on that day? Next slide. And here's what it might look like. And again, so on Monday, let's say the student had all the other pieces, but has to make flashcards. Great. So we always remember this is also very meta. Remember the whole setup? We separate the setup from the task. We do the same with studying. Depending on how big the task, I say 3 days, sometimes it's 4, depends on, again, this is not an absolute. These are templates to follow. But the one thing we always do is we separate the setup from the task. So that slide, what do you have? What do you need? What do you have? And what do I have to create? That's actually the setup. I want you to set yourself up, answer those questions, and then get ready to start. So that gets assigned. It's called setup day. Does that resonate? Does that make sense? Because we want them to be all set up. Okay, so on Monday, we're making the flashcards. We go always to what do I need to create? So for this student, they needed to make flashcards. Great. On Tuesday, they do what we call a testing tool. Again, it's not about what they're doing. It's how we just plan it out. A testing tool could be like a mock, it could be something, whatever it is. It could be an old test. It could be whatever. It's just a tool so they assess what they know and what they don't. Then on Wednesday, they're going over, they're creating the study guide or in this instance, it wouldn't be creating. The flashcards would have been creating, so the study guide, and they're watching maybe YouTube videos. And then the day before, they're doing a mock test. But all of this gets planned out. So in their blocks of time, when they have it, and this way, they have a roadmap to follow, which brings them down. Okay, I think that's it on this slide. Okay, any questions on this? I did this in 2 minutes. Usually I do this in like a half an hour, but I'm just want to keep an eye on the time because we're about an hour and I want to get on the website. Any questions on this before Kerry brings up the website? Okay, I want to show you around a little bit and I want to show you what's happening at Order Out of Chaos. We have a ton of stuff at Order Out of Chaos. We are 21 years old. There is a lot here for all of you. And we have 2 websites, and not everybody knows that. We have 2 websites. So, Carrie, can you click on our student services? So this is what we offer for our students. These are even better. We offer student coaching, which is one-on-one coaching. We have an athlete coaching academy, which is geared specifically to those kids in high school and college. We do a ton of one-on-one parent coaching. We are also bringing back group parent coaching. This has been really popular in the past. We've been getting a lot of inquiries to bring it back. So we'll be bringing it back like in the spring, early summer. And you can just go on and read more about it. It's obviously group. You're with other parents online. It's all, what's the word I'm looking for? Virtual. And then we have our student survival boot camps, which are one-on-one, but they're classes and they're geared more to our younger students, upper elementary and middle. They're not a long, drawn-out coaching process. They're very specific. It's very skill-driven, but it is one-on-one. We do not believe on groups for students. They don't work. Okay. Let's go to our other site. And yes, a lot of people, you don't need to see that. Let's go to, okay. Has anyone ever seen this? This is our shop site. This is where our webinars live. This is where all the videos live. So Carrie, can we go to the webinar we're having in April? Can we do that? All right, you're gonna get information. For those of you who've been around, you know that we do a ton of webinars. And every time I do a webinar, I ask you, what do you want? And you guys tell me you want executive functioning. But we're not going to do executive functioning 101. If you want executive functioning 101, we did that in like December and it is on the website. Okay. This is almost like from the parent perspective. Let's scroll down. We're taking your hot topics, the things you come to me about. Like, why does my child lie? Why does she argue about everything? Why does she seem lazy? I hate that word. Or struggle to make decisions. Let's go down. And I'm going to show you all the things. See that? That's everything we're going to be doing. It's like hot topics. Lying, arguing, emotional, lazy, avoiding distractions, all of it. And this will be at the end of April. And I really hope, because this is what you guys have been asking me for, that you wanted one, not just on like, hey, what's working memory, but on the things that are happening in your home. And here it is. So I really hope you're going to be here for that. Okay. Carrie, is the free gift up? Okay. I promised you in the product description for tonight that everybody is getting a free gift. This is your free gift. I am a big believer in that if you really want to know what's going on, now this isn't for my college students, but if you are a parent of an elementary or middle or high school student, and you really want to know what's going on, you can't just email the teacher and say, hey, how is Leslie doing in class? Because when you do that, you're getting a very short answer because teachers are overloaded. You need to supply the teacher with specific questions you want answered. That's how you're going to get intel. That's how you're going to know, because I know a lot of you like see things at home, and I always say it starts at school. So we are giving this to you for free as a little thank you for showing up tonight, little something fun. And the link and the passcode, because you will have, there's a passcode, I believe it's party. And when you go through the checkout process, if you write the word party is your discount code, you will get it for free. All of this will be in your show notes tomorrow. But I wanted to do that. I promised you a gift, and I wanted to give you a gift for being here. And this is actually a great one. We tend to give this to our parent coaching clients. So you guys are getting it tonight as well. Okay, one last thing. Everybody with me so far? Good? Thumbs up? How many? Okay. Some of you might not know that I also create student organizing products with a company called Samsil. See, Order Out of Chaos and Samsil. I promised you a giveaway. So this is what it is. It's a student organizer. I created it. I apologize. This one is dirty. and it's my favorite thing that I've ever created other than the planners. It is a clipboard. Ah, guess what, Laura? We're having a giveaway. So clipboard and a pocket. So your kid can put something here, and then look at this. All cut like this. So easy in, easy out. All different subjects. And wait for it, there's a pad in the back. It is amazing. Adults use it. I use it. I use one all the time. This is what I take when I go, because I am constantly on the road. This is how I bring everything with me. This is where I sit in meetings. I put my thing right here. So we are giving away 4 of them, friends. However, do not drop that in the chat. You will need to go. Yeah, that's why I wanted to give these away. It's funny. We created them for students, but adults are buying them. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. You're going to have to send an email. I told you this was a little Palooza-y. I wanted this to be a little fun, a little teaching, but a little fun, a little different. Okay, here is the email. You need to send an email to info@, and all you need to write in the subject line is plan. You don't even need to write an email. Just write plan and hit send. Tomorrow, 4 of you will be notified that you have been chosen. I don't do it. Laura does it. And she'll reach out to you by email to get your mailing address, and we will send you a Samsil Order Out of Chaos organizer. How's that sound? Are we good? So tomorrow's show notes, you're going to get a link to the study skills, a link to the book, a link to the planner sale that's happening right now. Anything else that I mentioned, the webinar in April, boot camp, parent coaching, all of these things are going on here at Order Out of Chaos. Okay. Before we wrap it up, I just want to take any last questions. I'm always mindful because my team is behind the scenes and it is also 8 o'clock on the East Coast. So I just want to be mindful of the time, but I want to make sure I've answered questions. Do you like this format a little bit better than a webinar? I don't know. I just decided this one, I was just going to do like a fun, easy, let's just do some stuff. So some people like the webinars because they're more structured and there's more learning and more teaching, but I wanted to do something a little more fun to kind of kick off the planner sale and to talk about planning because it's a big deal. So any questions? Okay, if there are no more questions, then here's what I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. We are a very robust company. We have a lot of people. And we are constantly wanting to make sure that what we are bringing to you, you want. Which is why when we do our webinars, we always say, what would you like? What would be the next webinar? If you could pick any webinar for us to teach you, what would it be? So we hear study skills all the time, executive functioning all the time. And actually, a lot of you have asked for overwhelm. So other than those 3, would you drop in the chat and tell me if you could have us do any kind of webinar, what would it be? That would be your gift to me. I would love to know. And I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes to do that before we say goodnight. I would love to know. If you're willing to do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. And again, this is the book I was talking about. Somebody asked, it's called How to Do It Now, because it's not going away. And you will get the link to this tomorrow. Okay, let's see. Sleep, brain dumping, relaxation. Interesting. Never had that one before, Stacey. I like it. I really do. Actually, in the book, I talk a lot about brain dumping. Leslie, thank you, thank you, thank you. Successful mornings and evenings, rewards versus, ooh, Heather, I like that. Rewards versus discipline ideas. I could do a whole webinar on that. Motivating the unmotivated. Betty, here's what I'm going to tell you. And again, we have a whole, and I'm being honest, there are things that we do for free, and there are things that we have to charge for. We are a company. We have a whole parent education library. And in that parent education library are videos. They're not that expensive. They're $24.99. You could even go in with other friends if that is too much. But there's on overwhelm, on motivation, on procrastination, on all of these topics. So I really invite you to go check out our parent education library. It's interesting, Jana, that's my middle name, by the way. Jana is my middle name and my sister-in-law's name. Is that crazy? I know, but we've been getting a lot of people asking about life skills, a lot. That like transition piece and like when to introduce it and how to introduce it. That's actually been on my radar. Very interesting. We might do that as a Facebook Live. All right. You guys are so, so, so amazing. Ryan, we do in this book, there is a whole chapter on brain dumping into daily planners. All of it. We talk about task pebbling and how to keep a task list, but we call it pebbles for the kids. And so that whenever they have like 20 minutes, like maybe they're waiting for a class, to just pull up the pebbles and knock them out. So a lot of that is in the book too. Okay. You guys are amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so happy you came. Elizabeth, Defiant Children, you got to come to the webinar. We're going to be talking a lot about defiance. Lying and defiance is what we're going to be doing in the webinar we're doing in April. Thank you, you guys. Mwah. I hope you found this helpful. The only thing we ever ask, tell your friends. All right, everyone. If you have any questions after you get the show notes, please reach out. Have a good night. Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching. And if you want to be notified when a new Dear ADHD Family Coach episode drops, make sure to hit that subscribe button.